This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio. I'm Jody Miller-Young, your host. Recently, I launched a series for both aspiring dog fashion designers and lovers of dog fashion alike called Startup Stories. Each of the brands featured share what they've learned that helped them grow their business and what mistakes to avoid. And we meet and learn about a cool brand I've come across I think you'll love too. For those drawn to classic American style, you want to hear today's Startup Stories interview with Mariko Nakaya of Milltown Brand. Genuine, high-quality materials, locally sourced and made, and old-world craftsmanship are cornerstones. Think Brooklyn cool kid plaid, stripes, vintage colors, and that's exactly where they are, in Brooklyn. But Mariko traveled far from her native Tokyo to settle here, and her aesthetic is unlikely considering her roots. We'll find out why she came to love American style and how a life-threatening illness and her beloved dog Brownie were instrumental in the creation of this brand. We'll take a short break from our sponsor, but don't go away. Grab that favorite beverage, get comfortable, and we'll be right back.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynovite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynovite.
Dynovite for life.
Pick up 2 tubes of Doggo Suds.
Get the 3rd tube free.
Peppermint, tea tree, lavender, Doggo Sud shampoo.
Made with all-natural coconut, jojoba, aloe. Great for healthy skin and soft, shiny coats.
But no itchy, harsh chemicals.
Lather up, rinse away.
Try Doggo Suds. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynovite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. If you've just joined, you're listening to Bark and Swagger on Pet Life Radio. I'm Jody Miller-Young. Japanese-born Mariko Nakaya created the Milltown brand of dog and human goods inspired by old-world American craftsmanship and style. We'll learn more about it and how her potentially fatal illness and her dog inspired the brand Milltown has become today. Hey, Mariko, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jody. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm great. It's cold here.
It's very cold there in Brooklyn. Guys, you know, if you're tuning in, it is February 1st, and we probably had one of the coldest snaps of weather across the country in, 40 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 degrees in New York yesterday, yeah?
It was, yeah.
Okay. It's insane. I don't miss that. I love my city, but I don't miss being in that cold every day. That's for sure. Well, hopefully you're staying warm.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Cool. Well, we love the Milltown brand. It is very clean looking, bright colors, fun. Tell everybody a little bit about it.
The Milltown is my personal project of 12 years, and it evolved over the years, of course, but creating, basically simple and classic goods that could last for a long time. Now for dogs and dog owners, I think for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. You had told me that there's a brand in Tokyo called Muji that you've always loved. How has Muji influenced your style?
Well, their style is minimal and simple and clean and functional, right? And I love it because it doesn't look that special. It almost looks like genetic, But when you know a Muji product, when you see it, that's crazy. And it doesn't have a big logo on the product or anything, but you can tell it is Muji's product. Isn't it clever?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's got its own particular style. Mm-hmm. And it's very clean and timeless.
Yeah, it is.
So I get that. And I definitely see that clean, those clean lines in Milltown Brand.
Mhm.
But what drew you to focus on American style with that Muji simplicity?
I love, first of all, I love vintage goods. I like collegiate styles and,
Okay.
like from each state souvenirs and old dog paintings and, like embroideries, etc. But I couldn't find something just simple enough so that it accommodates modern needs. So I wanted to create my own.
And blend the two together.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. Did you discover and see that you loved these types of things when you were still in Tokyo as a teenager? Or is it something that you found you loved when you moved to America?
I used to go to like vintage clothing store as high school kids, like whenever.
Tokyo.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I used to buy like sweatshirts, like vintage jeans and, flannel shirts and all those like, vintage imported goods from USA. Yeah, like I'm familiar with, American style.
Yeah. Well, not surprising. I mean, but it's now very apparent to me how Milltown Brand is a total extension of you and your passions, in fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, you started by making handbags with sort of that vintage vibe that you loved all the way back in 2007, and that was kind of your side project, right? So tell us how you got into designing and creating your own company.
I was working in, fashion, big, fashion company, but that was focusing on mass product, like to sell, like, can I say the name of the company? I'm sorry.
You can if you want, sure.
I mean, the clients are like, Walmarts or Targets or, like
sure.
those, like
Mass
big
market.
Yes. And as a designer, I had so much, goals and what I wanted to do, when I get the job, blah, blah, blah. And in reality, I couldn't have anything, no control. Like I couldn't do what I wanted to do in that setting. That's why I wanted to have my side project as an outlet of my own creativity. Yeah.
And that's when you created Milltown.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you were doing the handbags. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So then at some point you moved into dog fashion. And what inspired that? When did that happen?
I started creating dog items in 2014. I had realized that there aren't many dog goods that I actually wanted to buy from the store. So I wanted to make some dog products by using the scrap canvas from my human goods.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you say that there weren't many things that you actually wanted to buy from the store. So we should probably tell people that sometime in 2014, you got your boy, Brownie.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
Tell
my
us
baby.
About how you got Brownie.
Yeah. One day, of course, I was looking at a Facebook post from the bark shelter where, me and my husband, we've been volunteering on and off whenever we have time. And their post was about a new dog for adoption. Mm-hmm. And Brownie had just arrived at the bark shelter from Brooklyn's Animal Care and Control.
A kill shelter.
Yeah. City pound. Yes.
Okay, so tell us what you know about him. What happened? How come you fell in love?
It was just, I couldn't resist it. And it was just like one photo. And I was like, okay, let's go meet him, And just meeting him was like, oh my God, like he came out of the backside of the door and then he ran towards us. It was almost instant, like he picked us. Like,
yeah. That happens so often, It's like the dog knows, the dog picks you is exactly right. And it's so cool too. You told me that you know his backstory. Most times when you adopt a dog from a shelter, they're a stray and or they're pulled from, a bad situation and you don't really get to know a lot about their backstory, which is really helpful. So you have to kind of learn things just over time by things that you do and say and how the dog reacts. But you got to know Brownie's backstory. Why?
His previous owner moved to a place where they could keep only one dog. So they had to give up on Brownie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But previous owner provided all his records when they dropped him off at ACNC. So all of that info was passed down to us.
Perfect. And you got to talk to them too, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was okay. I don't know. I just had a nerve to make a call.
Good for you. That's great. So now, on a more serious note, you discovered that you had a life-threatening illness not long after you got Brownie, right? And tell us a little bit about that and how he helped you get through, and also what it inspired in terms of your business.
Yeah, we adopted him January of 2014. It was January 18th. And in late April of 2014, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Mm-hmm. It's a type of blood cancer, and it was very aggressive type. And, Brownie helped me mentally and emotionally during this battle. It was very tough going through the treatment, but now I'm on the other side. I'm very thankful that the worst of the situation is behind me. The experience made me realize what the important things in my life are and how I want to spend the rest of my life here. And I wanted to use my experience in fashion design as a tool to encourage pet adoption. And I would like to promote adoption in my home country of Japan, where a majority of people are still buying puppies and kittens from pet stores. And there are very few laws in place to regulate and improve the living condition of animals being used as a backyard breeders.
That's so wonderful that you're doing that, because 2 of my 4 came from puppy mill rescues, raids, really, puppy mill raids. And one of the 2, my little boy, Albie, spent 7 years in a cage in the puppy mill, just breeding one after the other.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible, horrible life. And so it's beautiful that you are bringing more attention to pet adoption, and both here and in Japan. And it's a beautiful thing that Brownie was a bridge for you to help you get through something that had to be really, really hard. And we're very happy that you are in remission and well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the collection of human goods that this inspired, tell us a little bit about that, because it's not just really cute, well-made fashion for your dogs, everybody. It is message-oriented and inspiring fashion for us, too.
Oh, thank you for saying that. First of all, the Milltown, name of the brand, Milltown, that is, how can I say, I grew up in Japan, the town of Milltown.
Yes. Your hometown.
Yes, there were iron casting factories all over in my city a long time ago. I consider Brooklyn, where I live, is my second home. And this area also used to be a lot of factories. Nowadays, it's gone. Almost all of them are gone, like Williamsburg waterfront area. But there used to be a lot of them. And I felt very comfortable living in this situation, in this area. I love it. And then when I started reading about, history of Brooklyn, I did the Wikipedia, and the motto of the Brooklyn is, I realized that's something really amazing, and that's also, so timeless slogan, which is in unity, there is a strength. And I felt this is the message, especially in these days, where so many things happen, environmental and political, it was just, I thought that was the best message I could found off of the Wikipedia that day. and I wanted to.
It makes a lot of sense for today. That is for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell everybody the different types of goods that you make with that message and maybe any other of your human goods that you offer.
Sure. With that message, I make sweatshirts, and I have short sleeve T-shirts for that project. But I do offer, some canvas tote bags and pouches, zipper pouches. Yeah, that's
very nice.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to see all of these products on the Bark and Swagger page of the Pet Life Radio site. We're going to take a short break from our sponsor, but when we come back, we are going to talk about what Mariko has learned in running her own business that's worked, that she wouldn't do again, and some of the interesting stories behind how she makes what she makes. So don't go away. Just refresh that beverage, get cozy, and we'll be right back.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back, right after we kibble a little with our sponsors.
It's DesignerPetSweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit DesignerPetSweaters.com to order your four-legged fashions today. Large or small, we fit them all. DesignerPetSweaters.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. If you've just joined, we're talking today with Mariko Nakaya of Milltown Brand, a really fun, beautiful, classic, American-style, sort of meets collegiate brand of dog and human goods. And as I said earlier, this is part of a series that I started recently on Bark and Swagger called Startup Stories, where I'm sharing with listeners in the interviews that we do tips on what's worked and what to avoid when you start your own pet business. So what is the most important thing you did that you feel your audience connected with or helped your business grow?
Well, my brand grew organically. So all the, all this product I made last 12 years involved. And in the beginning, it was different product. And I sold that in consignment store little by little locally. And then, with that money, I started a new project. So there was no big funding, to start this business. It was more of like slowly, like I found myself, like what I want to create and what kind of message I want to deliver.
And then slowly you found your audience for it too, right?
Yes. It took some time. Like, what am I specialized in? To find that, it was like very time consuming, and you have to know what you stands for. That's what I believe in.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure that it took a lot of experimenting to see what worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you could think of one thing that you did that you wouldn't do again, a tip you can offer people that may be interested in starting their own business and maybe help them avoid that particular one, what would it be?
Well, I did every single step by myself in the beginning. And when things started to get busier, I hired assistant or intern, or I had a sewing studio at one point. But to do everything by yourself, it's impossible. And you have to, do a lot of research for like how to make your product line out there. It's a lot of money and it's overwhelming at one point. And Yes, and it's like you have to buy fabric, cut fabric, sew the product, and then iron them, and then, do the quality control, put in, plastic bag or wrapping and ship it out. At the same time, you still have to do website, photo shoot, update your Facebook post, or, it's a lot of work.
I know. There's like 4 full-time jobs in there.
It is.
I found the same thing, for a short time. As my listeners know, I was designing and making luxury dog coats and accessories under the Couture by Sophie brand, and it was just me, and it was very overwhelming. There were never enough hours in the day. And the tough thing is how, when you're new, if you don't have funding, do you get help? How do you afford help until you are making enough money to do that? So it's a very, very tough problem.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can get friends who love you to help out in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it took me like 12 years. I had no advertisement, or I didn't attend expensive trade show that could bring in a lot of orders from buyers. I couldn't afford it, but it's kind of spread out, word of mouth. And one store started to carry my stuff, and they put my product on the magazine, and then it started, to spread out again.
Yeah, wow. That's the best way. Organic growth is really the most real and I think best way to grow a brand, because the people that discover you and stick with you and turn other people on to you are your fans. And and fans are the best promotion you can get. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that you did grow, but you still are that really organic brand, which is a beautiful thing. And you truly are like sort of the very best of sourcing mom and pop artisans and manufacturers to now become part of the Milltown Brand family in terms of the companies and the people that you work with that help you do what you do. Tell us a little bit about your manufacturing partners.
Yes, in the beginning, I personally looked it up online, like where I can ask to do the silk screening printing on the canvas tote, and it took me a while, but the very first silk screen printer, which is his company name is called Econographics, and I found it like on Yelp, and I was like, oh my God, that's like a block away from my apartment. And then, I started using him for a small project because I had, no money to make. And then nowadays, we became one of the best friends, and we share so many personal things, and he understands everything what I want to do and what kind of print technique that I'm looking for, and he is the best when it comes to printing, t-shirts and canvas totes and stuff. And I started doing, because when I got more order for the tote bags, I branched out the tote bag manufacturer in Brooklyn, south side of the Brooklyn. And then, it's a very tiny factory, maybe 5 or 6 stores. But, we could still drive up there and then see the progress and, tell them what needs to be done in terms of quality control and blah, blah, blah. Like, we had a very tight team setting for a little while. But then this current manufacturer in the Midwest, the owner of the factory found me on the internet somehow. And then he's like, let me make the tote bag for you. I love what you create, and let us do your work. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And
it's working out for you.
Yes. They've been very consistent, and their quality control is amazing. Yeah, like it reduced so much of, my workload for the canvas totes collections.
So it's happening. You're growing, which is wonderful. When we talked a little earlier, you were in the midst of telling me how you are sewing and cutting and doing this and that. And I said, are you still making certain garments from your your home, your apartment, and you said, "Yeah, I'm doing the bandanas," and
Yeah.
and that's a lot. The bandanas are like a great thing to talk about because I think that your colors and your patterns are especially vibrant and signature of the brand in your bandanas. And I would love to know what you look for in choosing that.
In terms of fabric or patterns?
Colors, patterns.
Yeah, I like very classic style. And my fabric collection, I would like to pick anything unisex. I don't want things to be like one fabric to be too girly or one fabric to be too spacey or,
Yeah.
Just because geometric is very popular these days, like I'm not going to carry geometrics just because of that trend,
Yes.
I want to keep carrying the fabric that is like stick to my brand standard, and I want timeless classic thing, not the trend. So I want to pick like good color like red or navy and orange, like anything to do with like what I would also wear, I want my dog to wear as well. So
yeah. And you have this really adorable collection of bandanas that are your Western collection.
oh
I love those. They're so cute and the colors are great. You'll see these on the Bark and Swagger page so you can check out what I'm talking about. Where'd you find that?
well, it's like I collect a lot of stuff online on eBay or like all these like auction stuff.
Vintage fabrics. Some of these are vintage
Yes.
fabrics. Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool.
And then vintage fabrics, it's very limited, right? And at the same time, the condition of the fabric is not always the same. So sometimes the edges are like frayed already. So I have to like cut it all off and then sew them, do the edge stitching and put the,
I do. You got to make it crisp. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not just selling like, okay, here's the bandana I found on eBay, so I'm just reselling on my website. I don't do that.
No, of
I
course
want to do
not. You have to make it your own. You have to make it the Milltown brand. Absolutely. You have a section on your site called Charity Goods. What is that?
Yes, I always, wanted to give back to the community and also the shelters, I'm very passionate about helping homeless pets, both in US and in Japan as well. So I created, some design targeting for, promoting the pet adoptions. So some products are like, 20% goes to the Bark shelter where Brownie is from, or sometimes I collaborate with small organization and then I do the design for free and then raise money using my product for them. I guess that's something I feel good about doing it. And then, yeah.
Absolutely. I see one of the things that you do on your Charity Goods page is affiliated with the Japanese NPO Hunting Dog Rescue. What is that?
That's their organization name is called Scenthound Dog Rescue. It started as two, housewives wanted to help out these animals from the shelters. They're specialized in rescuing hunting dogs, like a bloodhound or, more bigger breed than the toy poodle.
Yeah.
Because in Japan, spaces are limited. So a lot of smaller dogs get adopted quickly. But bigger dogs, like hunting dogs, they are not really trained to stay in the house or they were actually used in hunting. So they get less chance of getting adopted. So they started pulling them out by themselves. Like there's no one else backing up this organization. They were just doing it just for the dogs, who get less chance. So I wanted to help them out, somehow, raise awareness of look, these dogs are used for hunting, but that was previous lives and they deserve second lives, much better life with a loving home.
Yes.
So I wanted to reflect that message into my design, and then it's doing well.
That's fantastic. That is so nice, Mariko. Really great. So, Mariko, in continuing to talk a little bit about tips for people who are interested in doing this themselves, there was one thing that you'd mentioned to me about protecting your creations, your designs. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, this comes from my own experience. It's really hard to believe if anyone would do this, but my really original product, which I did so many design drawings, and I did the proto samples and redo the proto sample and then make it again and, tweak again. Like, that was my work, and I didn't see anything else on the market, right? And then one day, I was searching on Etsy for my new product, making sure no one else is doing it. And then I found this, one brand selling exactly the same product as mine, but using their own logo on top of different, locations.
They stole your designs, in other words.
I believe so. But I was lucky enough to document all my conceptual design art, from my scrapbook and the process of my sample making and patterns and how I sew, how I changed. I had all the evidence. So I brought that up to Etsy legal team, and then Etsy, they helped me greatly on this case. And, when I appealed to them, they did protect my rights, and then they took down their listing, the other person.
Yeah, you were able to prove that these were your designs first.
Yes. So
see, that's so important. You have to document what you do.
Yes.
And protect yourself, because you never know when somebody is going to copy your great idea.
Yes. So you don't think your design is like nothing or just a small thing or anything. Just make sure, you never know anyone would do this thing. And in general, I don't want to cause any problem, or I respect other designers, but it was really hard to see.
Yeah, this is a very important tip, a good tip. Thank you, Mariko.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so we are coming up to having to say goodbye, and I really don't want to do that because I've so enjoyed talking with you. Before we go, is there anything new coming up for the brand that we should know about?
Yeah, I'll do pop-in here and there, but all the information I usually update on our Instagram, which is Milltown Brand. That would be our Instagram name. So if you could follow, that would be the place you would find most updated information and new product and where I am at and what I'm doing, what
Perfect.
I'm showing. Yes.
That's perfect. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I hope everybody learned a little bit more about what it's like behind the scenes to start a brand and about the Milltown brand in general. It is a beautiful brand. Mariko, you're doing great work, and we wish you a lot of continued success.
Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thank you all for listening. Thanks to our producer, Mark Winter. Mark, you make us sound so good. We love you for it. My passion is living stylishly and animal rescue. So tune in next time to discover the designers, home decor, styles, and rescue stories I love. And don't forget to visit me at barkandswagger.com, where you'll find great fashion, shelter stories, and more. So until next time, when fierce fashion calls, bark and swagger.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.